Welcome to Covered in Pet Hair, a boozy show for pet lovers on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a canine fitness expert. Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I have the pleasure of having a drink and a chat with a pet parent, a professional dog walker and professional pet sitter, an entrepreneur, a canine fitness coach, a canine massage therapist. She's a road tripper, a tea drinker, and a world traveler. She's a magnet collector who's originally from Miami, Florida, just like me. Yeah. And she currently lives in Dallas, Texas, not that far away from me in El Paso. She is wife to Julian, dog mom to Kevin and Jenny, two Italian Spinonis. She is cat mom to Slater, a Russian blue mix that I just fell in love with. And she's beta fish mom to a fish named Thomas Shelby. She is the founder of Miami Pet Concierge, where she employs about 20 professional pet sitters to care for Miami's lovely, wonderful, spoiled pets. And she's the founder of the Packin Method, a canine mobile gym based in Dallas, Texas. Her name is Nicole Packin. Welcome, Nicole. It's so great to have you back on the show.
It's good to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to catch up with you. It's been a couple years since you were on the show. You were, I think, on my season 1,
yes.
And you had just conceptualized and were actually executing the Packin Method. So we have a lot to catch up on. Before we do that, I'm going to introduce our drinking game for the people following at home. So anybody participating in our drinking game today, anytime you hear this word, make sure you take a drink of whatever you're enjoying, but please be over 21 in the US to partake. Never drink and drive, and always drink responsibly. So if I recall correctly, the last time you were on the show, you had a White Claw.
I did have a White Claw. I did. I don't drink a lot, so that was what was in our house. So I did. I probably had like a raspberry White Claw.
Yeah, there's no hate on White Claws. I like the mango White Claw with chamoy and tahini around the rim.
Okay.
So such a treat. Like chamoy is like this sweet. I always talk about it on the show because I'm in El Paso and we have chamoy a lot. But it is like this sweet sauce that people put on like fruit here and like cocktails. And tahini, I'm sure you're familiar with, is the chili powder that's kind of like lemon, lime and chili. So you dip the actual like can of mango White Claw into, before you open it obviously, into the chamoy and then into the tahini. Then you open it up and drink it, and it's like kind of like a margarita, but not, but like fewer calories, less lemony, and it's mango, so it's always good. So I no hate on the White Claw.
No hate. I might have to try that, but I'm not a mango girl, so maybe another flavor.
Ooh, you're from Miami and you're not into mangoes?
No, I was allergic to them.
Ah, yes.
Which is really common for the Floridians, right? We grow up with them in our backyard.
Yes, the mango tree is highly allergenic for those that don't know. And I grew up with a huge mango tree in my backyard, and I suffered from awful allergies when it was blooming. So yes.
And they were the best trees to climb. So you would come home and you would have itchy eyes and rashes because you would climb them as kids. But yeah, I never really got into the mango.
They were massive trees. They grew to be huge in South Florida. So what are you having today with us?
I am having my Jinro. This is a Korean beer. To me, it tastes more like a really smooth vodka with a little flavor. I would compare it to perhaps maybe a sake, but it is really great. And this one is grapefruit, but they come in different flavors. They come in pineapple and plum and strawberry and grapefruit. My favorite so far has been pineapple, but I'm trying the grapefruit with you today. You have to make sure it's chilled in your little glass, and then perhaps on the rocks.
Ooh, okay. So spell it for me. What's the name of it?
Jinro, Jinro. You can get it at Specs.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to try it. Well,
really, really good.
I'm having a beer too, because I know you're kind of a beer drinker, and this is
like
a Texas beer, and I know that we are both in Texas. So this is called True Love.
Ooh.
It is a raspberry sour ale by Martin House Brewing Company, and it says made in Texas by Texans, and we are both Texans that love pets. And what is more true love? What is more true love than like investing in your pet's fitness? Like, I can't think of more true love than that.
Absolutely.
So I am going to get into all that.
Oh wait, we have to cheers first, no?
Oh wait, yes, cheers!
Yes. Cheers!
Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Ooh, that's good.
I want to learn. Good. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it for one of my next shows. I'm going to have.
Absolutely, it's really good.
I have it, and I'm going to shout out to you. Last time we did a Miami-based game, but today we're focusing on canine fitness.
Right.
So I want to play. Working on canine fitness. I am going to play a game where I'm just asking you quick fire questions. So you have to do your best to respond very quickly to my questions. Are you ready to play?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
You're ready. You were born ready. All right. What is canine fitness?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and then all of a sudden my brain blanks. Canine fitness to me is the health of your pet from snout to tail, encompassing everything from the joints and the muscles and their athleticism and their ability to move and how they feel when they're moving, and then also the brain. Are they happy? Are they stressed out? Do they have anxiety? To me, canine fitness is everything about the animal from the snout to the tail.
Perfect. So like us, we think about like working on our fitness, like going to the gym and like lifting weights. But really, when you're truly physically fit, it's your whole body that's physically fit.
It's your whole body.
Yes.
You know, they say a happy dog is a healthy dog, but so many dogs are not happy because they're bored at home. They're not getting exercise. They don't have interactive toys, which I'm sure we'll get into. So it's not just about the heart and the body. It's also about the mind.
Ooh, okay. So can canine fitness address certain medical conditions? Like, is that something that you have clients reach out to you for?
So in the state of Texas, I am allowed to provide physical fitness and canine fitness. However, I have to be monitored by a veterinarian. And what that means is I can treat ailments, post-surgery, arthritis, things like that, but I can't diagnose, which is outside of my scope of practice. So do I have clients that call regarding that? Absolutely. I'm working with dogs right now, a number of them that have IBDD, a few of them that were lame and had surgery, but I have to work in conjunction with a veterinarian overseeing it to make sure that everything's working out properly.
Amazing. Okay. I saw on your website that canine fitness can prevent injury. How so?
So just like you and I, if we were to lift weights, we can prevent perhaps, pulling our muscles in our shoulder. Or if we are stretching, it's going to prevent pulling a muscle. The same thing goes for dogs. A lot of dogs end up being compromised in their hind end, especially as they become seniors, because their muscles atrophy, arthritis. And so if you work on those things and continue to work on them as they age, you can prevent things, ailments from progressing and or injuries to happen.
How young can a dog start working on its fitness?
From day one. I mean, it varies from puppies through seniors, but you're always working on a dog's fitness. You want them to move appropriately. You want their gait to be you want them to move properly. You want them to move efficiently. You don't want them to have limps. You don't want them to cross their hind legs. You want them always to be at their peak performance. So, you could have puppies that were strays or weren't nursed correctly by their moms, or might have been in a cage for the first 6 months, or even like my dog, who was perfectly fine from the day he was born. He unfortunately lacks muscle tone in his hindquarters because that's just his anatomy.
Right.
So you want to work on that from day one. Now, there are certain things you wouldn't do with a puppy until they're perhaps 13 months to 16 months because their bones aren't fused and their joints aren't ready. Like you wouldn't run them on a treadmill at, 10 weeks or 10 months, but you can always work on their conditioning.
Perfect. What kinds of stretching is involved, if any?
There's two types of stretches that you can do. One is passive stretch, or you can do regular stretching. And so what you want to do, it's hard to explain unless you see it, but stretch, if you were to extend their leg, let's say in front of them, you're getting a really deep stretch in their shoulder blades and in all of their muscles. And so you want to make sure that as you're working with your dogs, stretch is very important because they lay around, they curl up in balls, they tend to overcompensate if they have a limp on one side. So stretching is really important, just like you and I. The more limber we are, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw on your website that Canine Fitness helps dogs develop their endurance. Why do dogs need endurance? What is it for?
So for most dogs, like pet dogs, we wouldn't necessarily work on endurance the same way you would work on a dog that's perhaps a working dog, a service dog, or maybe participates in events like barn hunt or lure or fast cat or agility. However, endurance is essentially being able to just move and have endurance to just be. So if you have an animal that is 20 pounds overweight, their endurance is going to be really limited in the movement that they can produce, or in being able to go on a simple walk or getting up the stairs if they have to. So working on endurance for the heart and the body is really important for just general living. However, you would work on endurance differently depending upon the dog's activity, health, condition, age, all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so true, because going up the stairs, going down the street to get the mail, especially in the heat, versus like a nice cool day, it does affect them. Just like when we go up the stairs and we're like winded and we're like, oh my gosh, I gotta get back to the gym. It is a quality of life thing.
It is a quality of life thing. You
it
have
really
a
is.
Dog that has arthritis and now they're getting a little heavy because they're a senior and they're laying around. Their quality of life isn't going to be as great if they can't get up the stairs and lay next to their dad or mom, on the floor, or being able to get in and out of a car, or just simply taking a walk around the block.
It's so true. Absolutely. We think of endurance as like your heart rate, but it's really just being able to even just move and participate in life, for sure.
So endurance isn't just about, being able to run, 3 miles at 4-minute miles.
Yes. So what is the reason that this is my last question for this game. What is the reason you see most of your clients signing their pets up for Canine Fitness?
Right now, I would say there's two things. Number one is overweight pets. Canine obesity right now is an epidemic. And they say that between 50 and 55% of all pet dogs are overweight. So a lot of my calls are simply, my life has taken me, to this place and I'm too busy and my dog is suffering because I can't get it outside. And I love my pet, but I need them to lose weight because they're going to die if I don't get weight off of them. Exactly. And then the second one are people who have dogs that are conditioned for sport, or they're a working dog or a service dog, or a person who lived on a farm and the dog was used to running all day and now he lives in an apartment in downtown Dallas. And he's lacking that ability to just move and be. So those are the two that are most common. And then on the third, I would say, are the ones that are calling whose dogs have had some type of ailment. Maybe they have a luxating patella, or their dog has a TPLO surgery, or they have IVDD, and they need to have more formatted, structured workouts so that their dogs can heal properly without getting re-injured or hurting what they've already hurt.
Right. Of course, you don't want to turn that over to just anybody. They need to understand.
Right.
So tell me, what you have been up to a lot since we last spoke. When we first spoke, you were going to open up the Packin Method Canine Gym in Colorado.
Uh-huh.
Then slowly but surely, I heard that you were in Dallas. And then I was
Yes.
like, why is she in Dallas? And I found you, I saw you at the Texas Pet Sitters Conference, and you had your canine gym there. So describe this journey from Miami to Dallas via Colorado.
So the goal had always been that we wanted to end up in Colorado, we wanted to leave Miami. We wanted to explore, and our dream was always to go to Colorado, but we have family in Texas, and two of them include little ones that are 2 and 4, almost 5.
Aww.
And we wanted to be active participants in their lives. And I have been fortunate and blessed to be able to help have raised my nieces and nephews on my side. They're older now. I have 8 nieces and nephews on my side that are between 19 and 14. And so my husband's nephews are little. They're little guys, and he's never been able to do that. So we saw a house on Zillow, and we took a tour via Zoom, and we put an offer, and we ended up buying a house essentially with the help of my sister-in-law. And it just kind of, it worked out really well.
You got to do it. You got to sometimes you have to make impulse decisions like that to get yourself out of your comfort zone. So you have a canine gym.
Yes.
Mobile canine gym. Describe it. For those who didn't tune in last time, describe what you offer your Dallas pet parents.
So I turned a Ford Transit passenger van into a mobile dog gym. It's climate controlled. And inside I have 2 different pieces of equipment. I have a slat mill, which most people have probably seen online. It's a dog treadmill. The dog generates the motion. I can increase and decrease the resistance. So I can work on, walking up hills or step work and muscle training, or full-blown cardiovascular endurance training. And then the second piece of equipment I have is called a pacer. It's another smaller treadmill that's it's an electrical piece of a device, and you can essentially track a dog's distance, speed, time, and caloric burn. And so it's used differently, but the same, if that makes sense. So I can work them out the same, increase and decrease the resistance. However, on the pacer, I use that more for larger dogs, because the center of gravity on the slat mill can sometimes be scary. Dogs who are overweight can't necessarily push the machine on the slat mill.
Right.
And I don't want them to hurt themselves, because they will be achy. Smaller dogs that might be in rehab, fearful dogs, and some of my incredibly, incredibly intelligent female dogs, because they get on the slat and they're like, I'm not doing this. And then they get on the pacer and they're perfect. So it really depends on the animal, what we're working them for, and where they are physically, because not every dog can get on a slat mill and immediately move it. They'll hurt themselves.
Got it. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. It's like one of those manual lawnmowers that you have to push.
Yes. We had one of those in Miami. we
had one, and we used it maybe twice, because it's a lot of work.
Well, I can tell you, one day I am out there pushing that thing, and a gentleman walks by, and he looks at me and he said, either you lost the bet or there's a bet happening in your house. And I said, there's a bet. My husband didn't think I could do this. And he's like, I hope you win. And I'm like, I'm going to win. It was the last time I ever pushed it.
Yeah, I never tried it. It was my husband's idea. I was like, I'm not doing it. There's one thing I don't do in this house, and it's lawn mowing. So I literally draw the line there. I don't care what machine you give me. I'm not doing it. So what if Dallas pet lovers, pet parents, dog parents told you about this? Like, are they super receptive to it? Was there a learning curve? Tell me about that.
So I have gone about this very, very I go about this slowly with people. They need to marinate on it, because what's happening is they see this online. They're seeing it. Mobile gyms are popping up all over the country, and people are seeing it online. And unfortunately, there's an educational piece to it, because everybody nowadays wants instant gratification. So the question
100%.
isn't, why is this important for my dog, and what will my dog gain from it? It's, how fast will they do it? And I want them to run and I want to film this for Instagram. And so I go about my business differently than most that you've seen online. I make sure that the animals are happy and content in the van. You have dogs that hate cars, and now you're
Right.
asking them to get into a strange van that smells like other dogs, to get on this device to perform essentially a service for me. So
Yeah.
I go about it incredibly slow and methodically. So, it takes some dogs. I've had dogs where it takes 2 and 3 times just to get them in the van, get them on the machine and
Yeah.
lure them with food, where then you have other dogs that pop on there and they're ready to go. Um, I have not had anything negative in Dallas. People are excited about it. They're fascinated by it. Anytime you hear about it, they're at a mobile gym and they want to know and they want to see it and they ask
Yeah.
questions. I think it's a matter of education and
Absolutely.
making sure that expectations are not set at this high, because not
Yeah.
every dog can do it, or should they do it. Um,
Right.
with
Yeah.
my background being with rehabilitation and animal behavior, I go about it a little bit differently than maybe other people. So
Yes.
the owners are there the first time, and I walk them through
Okay.
what their own, what the dog's going to look like, and I explain to them that the dog looks like they have, sea legs. They're a little bit shaky in the beginning, and then I'll explain how they come to getting their regular posture and when their gait starts to perform naturally, and you see the shift. And if an owner has the patience to get through that, then it's a marriage. I've only had one dog here that just, he couldn't do it. He shouldn't have done it, and we retired him after 10 minutes. We were going to break him,
Oh,
and it wasn't right for
what
him,
was
and that's
it?
okay.
What was he too old?
No, he was about a 2-year-old lab, and his socialization wasn't the greatest, and he lacked a lot of confidence, and he was very
Oh,
attached to his owners, and he was the sweetest, but he couldn't get out of his mental state.
yeah.
And this isn't just an exercise for the body.
Right.
This is an animal learning something new. And for those dogs that grasp it, you see them, like their confidence is there and their behavior changes, and they stop ripping up, towels in the house, and they
Yes.
stop chewing themselves. This guy just couldn't get out of his head, and
Mm,
he needed training before he got
got it.
into my van.
Yeah.
So I will not work out every dog if I feel like they're going to have a bad experience, because this isn't
Yeah.
about a bad experience. I want them running in there being like, yeah,
Yay, it's fun
so
time. Yeah, like my kid at Urban Air, like he runs around in circles and runs and jumps on trampolines by will because he loves it and he likes
loves
it,
it.
not
Right,
because I'm forcing him to jump on a trampoline, right? So
right.
there's a lot of consent there, which I think is so important, right? You want them to willingly participate in this exercise, not be forced to, because then it doesn't have all the benefits for the mental,
Yeah,
physical, emotional wellness that you're trying to achieve. I think I've always said it was an amazing concept. I love it. We don't have anything like that in El Paso. Again, I do think that education is lacking in a lot of ways here when it comes to pet parenting. For me, as somebody who's been in the industry for 15 years, like you tell me a mobile canine gym, and I'm like, oh my gosh, so many people need that. But for somebody who maybe just got their first pet, they're like, my my dog plays with the neighbor's dog. Totally different.
totally
Totally
different.
different.
And the education piece is, the way I explain this to people is, what they'll say, why does my dog need it? They go to the dog park, they have play dates, they go on walks. So the way I explain it is, a dog walk is sensory. They go out, they sniff around, they pee, they poop, they chase squirrels, they look at lizards, they look at cars going by, but they're stopping and starting. And at the dog
True.
park, it's a social, right? They
Right.
go, they see people, they see dogs, they're stopping and starting. But both of those activities are not 30 minutes of
Right.
non-interrupted exercise. So
Yeah.
then you get these guys on the treadmill, and they are going for 30 minutes. They're not being interrupted. They're not pounding on concrete. They're not getting body slammed by dogs, and it's controlled. So
Yes.
now, and they have to, if they're on the slat now they have to propel the machine. So they're learning a new skill while gaining confidence and getting that burnout that it doesn't matter if it's a Chihuahua or a Great Dane. They need to sweat. They need the burnout.
Yes.
And so that's how I explain it. And then once people are like, oh, I get that. Samson, when we go out for a walk, it's like he sniffs every blade of grass, and an hour after we get home, he's not exhausted. I'm like, that's why. And then the other thing is, you're in El Paso and we're both Floridians. It was 104 degrees the other day, heat index. And so the concrete is just on fire. The dogs can't walk, and you don't want to go out there. It's horrible. So, whether it's storming or snowing or raining or just you being lazy, it's an option.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic option. I compare it to like going to the club and dancing. Yeah, like you're going to the club and dancing and you're burning calories, but it's not like doing like an Ashtanga yoga class where you're super focused on your inhale and your exhale and you're this and you're that. So calorie burn is great, but it has to be what you're describing is like controlled, and you have a history of like rehabilitation and physical therapy. Your dad, if I remember correctly, was a physical therapist. Yeah. So you grew up knowing about that.
Yeah. So my dad was an orthopedist. So I kind of grew up in that world. But I couldn't deal with blood and people. Yeah. I can deal with it on pets, but not on people.
I think I definitely think the career path you chose was a less messy one, even though pets can be messy. I think surgery definitely wins. Well, I want to take a break right here, and when we come back, I want to actually dig into something else that you offer Dallas pet parents: canine massage. So don't go anywhere. I will be right back with Nicole Packin. Welcome back to Covered in Pet Hair. I'm your host, Isabel Alvarez-Arata, and today I am speaking to Nicole Packin. She's the founder of Miami Pet Concierge, who has been around for a long, long time helping pet parents in Miami, and she recently launched the Packin Method in Dallas, Texas. She also happens to be a canine massage therapist. So I, Nicole, would like to learn more about canine massage. As somebody who has tried a lot of maybe woo-woo things with my pets, I have never had my pets have a massage. So I have a lot of questions, and I'm going to ask you some of them. In game number 2, I named this game Dog Heart Warm Hands because I have all sorts of questions about massage and dogs. Are you ready to play?
I am ready to play.
All right. If you can, would you give me the top 3 benefits of canine massage from your perspective?
Absolutely. It helps with circulation, it helps with muscle recovery, and it helps with behavior.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. All 3 different areas.
Puppies? Okay, I wanna get into the behavior real quick before I go to my next question. How does it help behavior?
I thought I had a feeling you were going to get tripped up by that one, because a lot of people are like, wait a second, what? So the simple explanation is when we go and we pet dogs, people's instinct is to pet. And it's that fun pet. However, when you have a dog that has perhaps had abuse in its life, they have anxiety, they're not confident, they're insecure. Now they have to sit and stay still while someone's essentially petting them very differently than what they're used to. And so it's one of those hurts so good, that thing, sometimes where you're like, oh gosh, that feels good. Oh gosh, I don't know. Or it tickles, but you kind of like it, but you go back for more. So imagine you're asking a dog to sit still and you're working their body and they're like, okay, this is really uncomfortable. Oh, I like this. And then they walk around and they shake it off and they come back. It helps with them learning to just trust themselves and to get out of their head. It's really unbelievable if you work with dogs that have especially aggression, or just dogs that have behaviors. It can really help them get out of them constantly being, what's next? Where am I? Who's going to hurt me? What's going to happen? When am I going to get fed? It calms them down.
That's amazing. Okay, so can puppies stay put long enough to be massaged?
I mean, any dog can sit through a massage if they like it. A lot of them have ants in their pants. The goal isn't to force them to sit there. It's to honor what they're feeling. So when I massage a dog, whether they're 8 weeks or 18 years, a lot of them in the beginning, they'll sit and they'll kind of look around. They might get up and shake the stress off. They might yawn. They might roll on their stomach or on their back. And then as you provide massages, they get more and more accustomed to the touch and what you're asking of them. What's interesting of all ages is that when you're doing it, if there's something that's bothering them, a lot of them will signal. So whether it's a puppy, a middle-aged dog, or a senior, they might lick you, they might chewy-looey, they might turn. And dogs that I work with that have had continual massages, sometimes will turn their bodies where they want you to work them. It's pretty interesting to watch them because they'll just be like, nope, today I want this. And they'll literally move into you, where others might signal and not like it because it's uncomfortable and different.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. That sounds amazing. I would do that too. It's the same way we would say, like, I'm tight right here. Can we work a little extra on this shoulder, just like with your massage therapist? How does massage help aging dogs? In what ways do you work with them?
It's about comfort. It's about keeping their circulation. It's about getting in there and making sure that if they do have any type of arthritis, perhaps they might be struggling from degenerative myelopathy. It's helping keep them limber. It's helping keep the joints lubricated. It's making their muscles not as stiff. So just like you and I, if we are, sedentary and we don't move and we sit in this chair for 8 hours and we get up, we feel kind of gunky. So it's the same thing for senior pets. It's just getting everything moving and being able to move their body. And a lot of massage is also stretching as well. So it's just helping them. It's helping them stay limber and lubricated and their joints functioning.
It kind of also feels like maybe there's a little bit of energy moving, like where there's you're not a Reiki therapist,
I'm not a Reiki therapist,
practitioner, but still there is like that when you move when the blood circulates, there's also a movement of energy, isn't there?
There's absolutely energy in there, and you can do things. You can work on their lymphatic drainage. You can work on their adrenals. You can work on even an animal, depending upon what type of cancers. Some massage therapy does not benefit it, where others might.
Right.
But end of life. I have a dog here in Dallas. He's riddled with cancer, and they gave him 6 weeks, and he's been alive 3 months. But just allowing moving and flushing him out just makes him feel better. And so it depends on the dog, and it depends on the age and their athleticism and their all of that.
Right. And I saw on your website that there's a detox aspect to it, which I guess you kind of talked about with the adrenals and the lymphatic system.
So a lot of the times, say for instance, your dog goes in for a dental or gets spayed and neutered, you can flush the toxins out using massage to get the after effects of anesthesia. And so a lot of the times people will say, hey, my dog's getting surgery today. Can you come in the next 2 days just to kind of flush that gunk out?
Yes.
And it helps them recuperate faster.
That's great. And how do vets feel about canine massage in your experience?
So it's interesting because in Miami, I got a little bit of, I don't want to say backlash, but veterinarians thought, oh, this is woo-woo. We don't need this. Dogs don't need it. Put them in crates for 10 weeks after neck surgery and then have them do physical therapy. And coming from, an orthopedic daughter who knows that after surgery, the best thing you can do is get your body moving to flush. I don't really agree with that. Here, I've had a lot more positivity, and I think that I think the vets here might be a little bit more progressive, but they understand the importance of it. The difference here, though, is that in the state of Texas, massage and chiropractic has been kind of lumped together. So you have to have forms filled out and things like that because they don't want you to manipulate. And a massage therapist doesn't manipulate. But here it's been really receptive, and especially dogs that are working, and what I mean by working is recreating the same movements. So maybe they're pulling a wheelchair or winding in the leaves, or working. It's the same repetitive movements that they need work on those muscles, so that they don't get into any trouble or injury.
Right. Yeah, like they overuse, basically, like just like what happens with us, isn't it? So tell me, this is my last question. I know it's a really silly question, but we always think of like massage therapy as like aromatherapy in the room, and then like an oil being like lathered on you. What should we be imagining when we think of a canine massage? What does it look like?
Quiet room. I will normally do it in a client's house. I can do it in the van, but I prefer to have more space. Always want them to be comfortable. So on their favorite bed, on their favorite blanket, on the, wherever they enjoy it. And then depending upon the animal, I use essential oils to help calm them. You can mix, I prefer using a little bit of peppermint and a little bit of lavender and a little wild orange. And you can just spritz it around there to kind of calm them. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, depending upon the dogs, I will play massage therapy music for. Only because some of them really like it. I mean, some of them really, they kind of get into that like Zen mode, and they just kind of chill out. So it depends on the dog. But most of them here in Dallas, they like their music.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I always, when I want massage therapy music, I use like Reiki music as my search. And I do immediately feel like there's a change in my mood. There's a change in like everything in my energy because of that music. And there are studies that show that dogs really do resonate with classical music and things like that. So certain instruments they react differently to. So I think it's perfect. Do you ever use like heat and cold? Like, let's say like the human equivalent would be like a hot stone or something. Do you ever use stuff like that?
I don't. In the physical fitness part of it, I will use rubber bands and things like that to help them to concentrate on certain muscles. But I do not use any warm or cold because I don't. That's a part of rehabilitation that is under, not in my scope of practice. I could do it for my own dogs, but I don't offer that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Super cool. I mean, I'm just curious as to, I had a guest on the show recently, not too long ago, Angela Ardolino. And we played Woo Woo Would You, which is like a classic game I play. And I asked her all these questions about pet Reiki, pet massage. And she said, anything that we get benefit from, chances are our pets are going to get benefit from. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, yes. And I can tell you, the music is, like you said, there's been studies about how music has helped animals. And I can tell you that I have animals in the gym who I have a set list for a couple of them, and we call it our dance party. And I have a couple of them that will only run if that is on, versus other dogs that really like that spa Zen feeling. And I turn on that music and it calms them, where I have other dogs that want complete silence. So, I mean, if it benefits us, it absolutely can benefit them.
It's so funny you should say that, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of them is like a Bravo podcast. And apparently a lot of runners listen to that podcast while they're running. I listen to it while I'm cleaning house. Like, I always think, like, if I was running, the last thing I'd want is to like talk about the Real Housewives or Vanderpump Rules. I'd want to be like with my Zumba music, my reggaeton, my salsa, my like pop music. So it really is a personal choice. Everybody wants what motivates them.
When I was a marathon runner years ago, and I used to just click through channels, because I felt like if you listen to the whole song, it just felt like that mile was taking forever. So if I would listen to a few minutes, and then, or talk radio, because talk radio goes on forever, a little NPR on a 10-mile run, it can get you through it, because it's always changing.
It would just have to be about pets. If it was about anything else, I would be like snoozing in the nearest like park bench. So no, absolutely. I need my like like really loud Latin music or pop music. So I kind of want to get more into the logistics of it too. Like how often are dogs recommended to
Sure.
get massage, and how quickly do you see any results?
So, massage can be done a few times a week, depending, I guess it depends on what you're doing it for.
Got it.
If you're rehabbing animals, let's say post-surgery or, yeah, post-surgery, you could do it a couple times a week. Do they need it often? No, just like us. I mean, once a week, once a month, it really depends.
Right.
And the benefits are the more you do it, the more you see. However,
Right.
you can also overdo it because you need those muscles to relax and heal.
Right.
So I see some dogs twice a week. I see some dogs once a week. I see some dogs once every 2 weeks. It doesn't
Right.
matter. They're going to benefit from that work. And you can see benefits from the first time. And some dogs, depending upon how, if they can sit still and how much work you can get done on them, it might take a couple sessions. But to me, just getting your hands on them is a benefit.
Absolutely.
The fitness, I always recommend if you want to see results, you need to do it more often than not. And I tell people do it
Okay.
twice a week. Once a week, you'll see benefits. But if you start missing and you start doing it every 3 weeks, every month, there's a learning curve. You have to go back and
Yeah.
almost start over a little bit. It's just like, with us, if we only run once a month, we're really not going to see a lot of benefits. You're going to be exhausted that one time. But I call that
Yeah.
the weekend warrior, the dogs that go
Yeah.
out to the park once a week and then they're exhausted Monday through Wednesday.
Yes.
That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for dogs that are going to get whether it's on the treadmill or their physical fitness or their massage, and they get it, on a regular basis where the benefits build each time.
Do you recommend they go together, massage and physical fitness often?
I do. I think nowadays, I don't think people realize that dogs hold about 65 to 70% of their weight on their front quarters. And so
Ooh.
the hind legs they're used, but they're not as strong as they should be in most cases. So I think that if you have a dog that is weaker in the hind quarters, you can get benefits from the treadmill. Physical fitness using their body weight to do exercises is a yes. And then massage is always a recovery benefit.
Yes.
For my seniors, I always tell people if you really want to help them, have them do the treadmill and maybe every third, fourth time, add in a targeted massage where if they have a shoulder issue or a hip issue, let's just work on that one area. But massage is always a great recovery tool. I mean, all endurance athletes and athletes use massage to help
Yes.
heal. So I think it's a benefit, but some people want to and some people don't.
Right. I feel like, again, it's one of those things where I think a lot of us culturally are conditioned that it's just a dog. So, like, if I'm
Right.
not investing the money in my body, I'm probably not going to be doing for my pet. But they age so much more quickly than we do
They do.
that I think that we can't really compare it. It's not, we are different. We're not even the same. Like, they're not primates. Like, we're very different structurally and all
Right.
that. So I do think that people need to think beyond, like, oh, massage. We think of it as like a relaxation. For them, they're aging very, very quickly. Their wear and tear is a lot faster than ours in the average person versus the average pet or dog. So I agree. I think it's like one of those things where you kind of initially say, I'll pay for my dog to get a massage. But if you really dig a little bit deeper, you're like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I think when people start realizing that, obviously, is when they start seeing their dogs showing signs of age. And animals have a different threshold for pain tolerance and showing us when they're distressed or showing us when they're not feeling well. So a lot of the time where, they should have been being seen here, they're being seen here.
Yes.
So, it's dogs do age faster and larger dogs, especially. I mean,
Oof,
larger
yeah.
dogs, at 7 and 8, they're seniors. I mean, some of these
Yeah.
breeds only live until they're 8 or 9 years old.
Right.
So to me, it's about starting them young, keeping them active, keeping them healthy, and maintaining their body. And, just like us, I didn't start working out at, 40 years old. I was working out and playing soccer as early as 4 years old.
Yes.
So it's the same thing. But I think nowadays, where physical fitness is becoming more of a mainstream topic, it's everywhere. Now we're seeing it becoming more spoken about in the canine world, because nobody, people thought, oh, we'll just put our dog in the backyard and they'll run around. They don't.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. No. Especially not in the heat that you described earlier. Yeah. Absolutely not.
No.
So how can my audience learn more about your offerings? And do you plan on, branching out to any other cities or locations?
We're talking about that now. So yes, we will be expanding, but we'll have to talk about that at another time because we're still figuring it out. But they can reach me by they can go to Facebook, they can go to Instagram, they can go to the website, thepackinmethod.com. They can email me, Nicole@thepackinmethod.com. And if anybody has any questions about, starting their own gym, I'm going to be consulting for people that want to. That's going to be my new venture, is to consult for people that want to do it correctly and safely.
Very cool. I don't know. My husband has plans for after retirement, but I wouldn't be opposed to him starting a canine gym here in El Paso, Texas. Chris,
you absolutely should. There was one actually in Houston they were selling, and I was looking into that, but
really?
Yeah.
It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of physical work, right?
It is a lot of work.
You are using.
I mean, I don't have a staff here because I want to monitor it right now.
Right.
And I think that it's easy. You can easily start it, but I think that if you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the time working with dogs, it could be a disaster. Yes. And I say this to anyone that's interested in this. This is my PSA. What you see on Instagram and what you see on social media is not what you get when you're in the van. And it's all fun and games to have them run, but there's a lot behind the scenes to make sure that we're not hurting them. And my biggest fear is that this is becoming a very popular tool. And I think it's an important tool. And I'm worried that if people aren't looking at it and studying and making sure that they're educated, it's going to get torn apart. And that's my biggest fear, because if you look online right now, you're seeing dogs that are being run that are way too young, have ailments they shouldn't be run. It's kind of frightening to watch.
It's no different than people starting a mobile groomer who've never groomed a pet in their life, and now they're going to start grooming pets. And grooming is a skill and an art that people develop over years. I follow a ton of groomers where they show you the first dog they groomed and now like the millionth dog they groomed, and they're like, oh gosh, I was so bad at this before.
So bad.
And it's like an everyday practice.
It's true. And I mean, I've learned so much. Every day I learn something new. But the biggest issue is you may get a dog in that van and you could get attacked by a dog in that van. If you don't know body language. Yeah. Or, you could push them to the point where they get injured. And so that's kind of, I deliberately and methodically do what I do for the safety and integrity of myself and my business. But the most importantly is that dog's body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the pet parent that trusts you with that dog's body, right? Like you made the commitment to them that you were going to take care of their pet. This is not just a way to pay your bills, people. I'm not talking to Nicole. Nicole knows this. How long have you been in the pet industry?
20 years.
Okay, so that's all that we need to say there. When I tell you that Miami Pet Concierge is like the OG, like pet sitting dog walking business in Miami, she's cared for thousands of animals, if not more, thousands upon thousands of animals over the years. So there is an expert in your midst, and that is Nicole. So if you are thinking of doing this, please do reach out, whether it's to have your pets taken care of or if it's because you want to start your own venture like this. Well, I just want to propose a toast to you, Nicole. Thank you again for being my guest again. Cheers. I also want to propose a toast to my executive producer, Mark Winter. Cheers to you, Mark. And to our audience, thank you for joining us for these awesome conversations. I can't wait to bring you more awesome experts like Nicole. I only bring you the best. Trust me when I tell you, I only bring you the best. So here's to a life covered in pet hair. There's no better way to live. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me again.
It's always my pleasure to see you, my dear friend. Always. To learn more about Covered in Pet Hair, please visit coveredinpethair.com or petliferadio.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.